I wasn't supposed to hear them, but I did. My husband and his boss, laughing at me like I was some stupid joke. The worst part, they were right behind me. The room was full of people. Music played softly in the background. Glasses clinked, and voices buzzed around me. I stood near a tall window, trying to calm my nerves. My husband told me this gala was important. He wanted me to make a good impression. I spent all day getting ready, trying to be what he needed me to be. I stayed close to the edge of the crowd, quiet, smiling when someone looked my way. I wasn't used to these events. I felt out of place, but kept telling myself I was here to support him. That's what he said he wanted. Then I heard it. Is that really what she wore? A man's voice. Laughing. I didn't move. Oh, you noticed? My husband replied. Told her to keep it simple, but she never listens. They both laughed. I stared straight ahead. She tried talking to me about work earlier, the boss said. Like she had any idea what she was saying. More laughter. My husband didn't stop it. He joined in. Like it was the funniest thing in the world. I stood frozen. My face felt hot. My stomach twisted. I didn't want to believe it at first. I thought maybe I was hearing wrong. But then I heard my husband's voice again, low and smug, like he'd been holding that laugh in for a while. I turned slowly, careful not to make a sound, and walked away. I didn't want anyone to see my face. My hands were shaking. I just needed air or space or something. I didn't even know. I found an empty seat near the edge of the room and sat down. I looked around at all the well-dressed people, laughing and clinking glasses like nothing was wrong. I felt like I was made of glass, ready to crack. I trusted him. For years, I helped him build his career. I stood by him, believed in him, and now here he was, laughing about me with the same man who once shook my hand and told me I was a strong support system. I wiped the corner of my eye, careful not to ruin my makeup. Then I noticed someone nearby. The CEO. He was standing alone, not talking to anyone, just watching the room. He didn't look cold or unkind, just observant, like he was always paying attention. He caught my eye and nodded slightly. I don't know why, but in that moment, something inside me changed. I stood up and walked toward him, not with a plan, just with quiet anger and the feeling that maybe, just maybe, this night didn't have to end with me being the joke. Back then, we had nothing. He had dreams, but no money, no job, and no plan. I believed in him anyway. He said he wanted to go back to school, get a degree, and build a real future for us. I told him I'd support him, and I did. I picked up 2 jobs. I worked early mornings at a diner and evenings at a grocery store. I came home tired, feet aching, but I still cooked, cleaned, and made sure he had what he needed to study. Rent, bills, groceries, everything came from my paycheck. He studied while I worked, and I was proud of that. I thought we were doing something good together. When he was overwhelmed, I stayed up late and helped him type papers. I quizzed him for tests. I gave up weekends and vacations so we could save money. I told everyone, we're investing in our future. I really believed it. He finally graduated, and I cried when he walked across that stage. I had never felt more proud of anyone in my life. He hugged me afterward and said, "We did it." I thought we were a real team. Then he got a job. A good one. Entry level, but full of opportunity. Things changed fast. He started buying new clothes, going to networking events, and acting more confident. I thought he deserved it after all the hard work. I was happy for him. Still working, still supporting us, still cheering him on. Soon, he started saying things like, "You wouldn't get it. It's a corporate thing," whenever I asked about his work. He stopped inviting me to company events. When I asked why, he said, "They're boring," or, "It's better if I go alone." I trusted him. I didn't push. I kept believing he appreciated everything I'd done. Then he told me about the gala. He said, "This one's important. My boss and the partners will be there. I need you to come with me." He looked serious, almost like he was counting on me. "Just be calm and elegant. Don't say too much. Smile. You'll help me make a good impression." I said yes without hesitation. I wanted to be there for him. I bought new shoes, got my hair done, practiced how to introduce myself. I wanted to be perfect. I thought this was finally the moment where he'd show people, "This is the woman who helped me get here." But now, thinking back, I see the truth. He didn't bring me because he valued me. He brought me to look the part, his supportive wife. The one who made him seem stable, put together, admirable. I was there as a background piece, not as a person. Now I remember the way he spoke over me when I tried to talk. The way he gave me a look when I asked questions. The times he laughed off my thoughts like they were nonsense. He didn't build his success on his own. He built it on me. On my time. My work. My patience. My trust. And now, after everything, he laughed at me behind my back like I was nothing. That was the moment the pieces started to fall into place. I saw him again the next morning, the CEO. He was standing alone near the hotel's coffee area, holding a small cup, watching people rush around with their suitcase. He wasn't talking to anyone. He didn't seem in a hurry. Just calm, like someone used to being in control of every room he entered. I walked up to him slowly. "Excuse me," I said. He turned toward me without surprise, as if he had already noticed I was coming. He nodded once. "Could I speak with you for a minute?" "Somewhere quiet," I asked. He gave a small nod again and motioned toward a hallway just past the lobby. We walked side by side, not saying anything, until we stopped near a corner, away from the noise and people. "I know this is unusual," I began, "but I have something I need to show you. It's not gossip. It's serious. And it's about your employees." He didn't interrupt. He just looked at me, waiting. "I'll only say this if you can promise to keep this between us. Just for now." He nodded once. "Go ahead." I opened my phone. I had already saved everything into a folder: messages, screenshots, dates, names. I handed it to him without saying anything else at first. "Let the messages speak for themselves." He looked down and began scrolling. "These are from a group chat," I said. "My husband, his boss, and a few other people on his team." He kept reading. His face didn't change. "They've been using company events and internal chats to mock people. Not just coworkers, clients, spouses, anyone who comes into contact with. They take pictures without permission. They give people nicknames. They laugh at accents, at clothes, even personal things. Some of these messages are from last night, right after the gala." He didn't look up. He just kept reading, scrolling slowly through every message. I watched him go through joke after joke, photo after photo. My husband's name was right there. His boss. 2 other names I recognized from last night. They had all been so polite in person. "I didn't know this was going on," I said. "Until last night." Still, no reaction on his face. No comment. He was quiet the entire time, reading everything. "They talk about clients too. Private things. A client's wife, a woman's body, the way someone talks. All while using your name at events like this." He stopped scrolling. He didn't give the phone back right away. He looked at one message for a long time. Then finally, he handed the phone back to me. "You've kept copies?" he asked. "Yes. All of them." He nodded once. "That's good." There was a long pause. I didn't know what else to say. I didn't need to say more. He had seen enough. "Thank you for showing this to me," he said. "You did the right thing." That was all. No questions. No promises. Just that. He turned and walked away, leaving me standing there. I stayed in that hallway for a moment, phone still in my hand, staring at the screen. I had no idea what would happen next. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't threaten anyone. I just showed the truth. Calmly. Clearly. And now someone else knew what was happening behind all those polished suits and fancy speeches. The man who ran the company now knew what kind of people were working under his name. I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel like I had won anything. But I felt steady. Like I had taken the first real step in a long time. I didn't need to raise my voice. I didn't need to beg anyone to believe me. I had proof. I had truth. And now I had given it to someone who mattered. It was out of my hands, but not out of reach. Her husband was completely unaware. He came home the day after the gala acting like nothing happened. He smiled, made jokes, and told her how impressed everyone was with him. He said things like, "I really made a mark last night," and "My boss said I handled everything perfect." He looked proud of himself, confident, like he had done something great. He didn't ask how she felt. He didn't ask if she enjoyed the night or if anything had upset her. He didn't even notice how quiet she was. He just talked about himself and laughed like nothing could touch him, like he owned the world, like he owned her. She didn't say much. She nodded, smiled a little, and listened. She didn't ask questions. She didn't argue. She just let him talk and waited. He thought she was being supportive, like always. He didn't see anything different. But things had already started changing. The first thing she did was search for a new apartment. Something small, clean, and simple. Somewhere quiet, where no one would laugh behind her back. She scheduled visits while he was at work. She found one within 2 days. Signed the paperwork without telling him. She had lived with him for years. Now she just needed somewhere to breathe. Next, she opened her own bank account. Her name only. No shared access. She moved part of her paycheck into it. Then she looked at their shared account. Most of the money came from her work, especially in the beginning. She remembered every time she paid the bills, bought groceries, kept them afloat while he studied. She wasn't stealing. She was taking back what was hers. She moved a portion into her private account. Not everything, just enough to leave with what she had brought in. She changed her direct deposit to go into the new account. Quietly. No warnings. No drama. She also started calling places where they had joint accounts. Investments, savings, even their streaming services. She removed her name from everything. One by one. She didn't make a big deal. She just called, gave her details, and walked away from each thing. Her husband didn't notice. He was too busy sending follow-up emails to his boss and showing off at work. He thought everything was normal. He thought she was still the same person, still standing behind him like always. At night, he came home and told stories about how people respected him. He made little comments like, "We're finally getting somewhere," and You always believed in me. She smiled when he said those things. Not because she meant it, but because he didn't deserve to know what was happening. Not yet. She stopped cooking dinner for him. He didn't mention it. He just ordered food or made something simple and assumed she was tired. He didn't ask why she had stopped folding his laundry or making coffee in the morning. He thought maybe she was just in a mood. He didn't really care. As long as his needs were met, he didn't look deeper. She cleared out her side of the closet slowly, one item at a time. He didn't notice. She packed personal things in boxes and took them to her friend's house during lunch breaks. He never asked where she was going. He stayed clueless. He didn't realize she had changed the passwords to her email, her phone, her banking apps. He didn't realize she had already spoken to a lawyer. Not to fight, but to ask questions, to learn what her options were. She kept calm. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She acted like everything was fine. But the truth was, she was already gone. Not fully, not yet. But piece by piece, she was leaving him behind. And he had no idea. Her husband was completely unaware. He walked around the house like a man who had everything under control. He kept talking about how great the gala was, how the partners liked him, and how his boss called him a rising star. He spoke with confidence, like he believed he was the most important person in every room. He didn't notice the way she looked at him now. He didn't hear the silence between her answers. When she didn't laugh at his jokes or smile at his stories, he didn't ask why. He thought she was tired. He thought she was just being quiet, like always. He thought she was still the same woman who stood behind him through everything. He was wrong. She played along. For a few days, she listened to his bragging. She made short comments when needed. She pretended everything was fine. He didn't see anything had changed. But everything had. The first thing she did was find a new apartment. She searched online while he was at work. She visited places without telling him. She chose a small one-bedroom unit on the other side of the city. Quiet area. No shared walls. Just hers. She signed the lease and paid the deposit using money from her saving. She didn't need to think twice. Then she went to the bank. She opened a new checking account in her name only. No joint access. No shared statement. Just her. She moved her direct deposit to this new account. She didn't tell him. He didn't ask. He never paid attention to those things anyway. She also looked at the joint account. Most of the money there had come from her over the years. She remembered every overtime shift, every bill she paid, every time she covered rent while he was studying. Quietly, she transferred some of that money into her new account. Not all of it, just what she felt was fair, what she had earned. He still didn't notice. She kept going. She called the investment company and asked them to remove her name from the joint account. She stopped contributions and told them to freeze her part. She went through their bills and subscriptions and took her name off anything that connected. One by one, she removed herself. At home, she packed small things each day. Her books, her files, her favorite mugs, a few clothes. Nothing too noticeable. She put them in boxes and took them to a friend's place during her lunch break. He didn't notice anything missing. She stopped doing laundry for him. He didn't mention it. He just wore whatever was clean. She didn't make coffee in the mornings anymore. He started stopping at a shop on the way to work. He thought nothing of it. She also changed the passwords to her email, her social media, and her online account. She checked their shared bills and made sure her name wasn't tied to anything with debt. She was careful. She didn't want any surprises. She spoke to a lawyer too, just for advice. She didn't plan to fight. She just wanted to know her rights. What was hers? What she could walk away with. She took notes, asked questions, and left feeling calm. Every day, she moved one step closer to being free. She didn't make a scene. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. She had done that already. Now, she was just making a plan and following it. And still, he had no idea. He was too busy thinking he had everything under control. Too busy celebrating his success to see the quiet storm building right next to him. She didn't need to. She waited until the house was quiet. No distractions. No background noise. He had just come back from work, kicked off his shoes, and was settling on the couch with his phone. He looked relaxed, like it was any normal evening. He didn't expect anything. He never did. She stood in front of him and said, "We need to talk." He looked up, confused. "Now?" She nodded. "Yes. Now." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't look angry. She just looked steady. Calm. She pulled out her phone and opened the folder she had saved. The screenshots. The group chat. Every cruel message. Every joke. Every photo. She handed him the phone. "Read this." He took it slowly. At first, he didn't say anything. His eyes moved down the screen. Then he gave a small laugh. Not nervous. Just amused. "Oh, come on," he said. "It was just jokes. Don't be so sensitive." She didn't react. "We were messing around," he continued. "You know how guys talk." She didn't speak. She just watched him. He shrugged. "It's not that serious." "You didn't just laugh at me," she said quietly. "You made me a joke. You shared my photo. You let them call me names. He leaned back and shook his head. You're blowing this out of proportion. No, she said. I'm not. You're being dramatic. No, she said again. I'm being honest. He rolled his eyes. So what, you're mad now? You want me to say sorry? I'm leaving, she said. That made him pause. What? I'm leaving, she repeated. I've already found a place. I've moved most of my things. I've opened my own account. I've taken my name off everything. He sat up straight, the smile finally gone from his face. You're serious? Yes. He stared at her for a few seconds. Then he frowned. Where are you going to go? You can't afford to just walk away. She looked him in the eye. I always planned ahead. Unlike you. He blinked. I've been working, saving, preparing. I gave you years of support. I was quiet when you needed me to be. I worked while you studied. I paid while you dreamed. And you stood beside your boss and laughed at me like I was nothing. He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. I'm not your assistant. I'm not your background. I'm not your joke. He stood up. You're making a mistake. Don't throw everything away over a few texts. This isn't about the texts, she said. It's about what they showed me. He stepped closer. You're just emotional. You don't mean this. She didn't move. I mean every word. What am I supposed to tell people? She raised an eyebrow. That's your problem. He looked lost now. The arrogance was gone. The calm confidence replaced with panic. He wasn't used to not being in control. He wasn't used to her being firm. I'll change, he said suddenly. I'll fix it. She shook her head. You're only sorry because I'm leaving. He didn't answer. She picked up her bag, the one she had packed the night before. She walked to the door without looking back. He stood frozen, not saying another word. She opened the door, stepped out, and left behind the man who once promised her everything and gave her nothing but a broken truth. Monday morning started like any other. People came into the office with coffee in their hands and tired looks on their faces. But something felt different. There was a strange quiet in the building. Fewer smiles, less small talk. It was like something heavy was in the air, but no one knew exactly what. The CEO had arrived early. He didn't speak to many people. He went straight to his office and made a few calls. No loud meetings, no big announcements. Just a few emails, a few private messages. Quiet, controlled, serious. By mid-morning, the head of HR started calling people in one by one. First, it was one of the senior partners. Then a junior employee. Then the husband's boss. Each person stayed inside for a long time. When they came out, they didn't say anything. Some looked nervous. Some looked confused. But they all went straight back to their desks and avoided eye contact. The husband noticed it, but he didn't think it had anything to do with him. He assumed someone else was in trouble. Maybe the company was doing a review or responding to a complaint. He felt confident, relaxed. He even joked with someone at the water cooler about all the drama. But then, just before lunch, he got the message. Please report to the CEO's office. He smiled to himself and straightened his tie. He thought maybe he was being asked for advice. Maybe they wanted his side of something. He had no idea what was waiting for him. He walked into the office with his usual confidence. The CEO didn't stand up. He just pointed to the chair across from him. The husband sat down, still smiling. Then the CEO handed him a folder. Read. The husband opened it. It was full of printed screenshots, the same ones his wife had shown the CEO. Every message from the group chat. Every photo. Every cruel joke. His name was all over it. He stopped smiling. The CEO watched him the whole time. Silent. Still. These are real, the CEO asked. The husband tried to speak. It was just a private chat, just jokes. The CEO didn't blink. You mocked clients. You insulted employees. You shared private photos from company events. The husband shifted in his seat. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone. You were warned during training about professional behavior, the CEO said. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is a pattern. A documented one. The husband tried again. I didn't mean for it to get out of hand. It's already out of hand, the CEO said. And we're parting ways. Effective immediately. The words hit him hard. You're firing me? We're ending your contract. With cause, the CEO said. HR will explain the details. He sat there in shock. No more words. No more excuses. He left the office quietly. No smile. No jokes. No pride. People watched as he walked by, but no one said anything. He packed his things slowly, without speaking to anyone. Just a quiet goodbye, with his head down. The same man who had laughed at others now couldn't face them. And just like that, the job he thought he owned was gone. Their so-called power couple, friends, didn't stay friends for long. At first, they acted surprised. Some messaged him, asking what happened. But after a few days, the messages stopped. The phone stopped ringing. The invites disappeared. The smiles turned into silence. No one wanted to be seen with someone who had been fired so publicly, especially not for behavior like his. He tried reaching out to old contacts, hoping someone would give him a chance. Some didn't reply. Others gave short answers, saying they weren't hiring. A few were honest, They told him his name had come up in conversations, and it wasn't good. People in the industry already knew about the group chat. Word had spread fast. He started applying to jobs online, but nothing came back. Not even interviews. When he followed up, he got polite rejections or no answer at all. It was like he didn't exist anymore. He had been removed from company newsletters, group chats, and even office photos. His LinkedIn still said he was working at his old job, but everyone knew the truth. At home, it was worse. The house felt empty, quiet, cold. She had already moved out. He didn't even notice when it happened. One day she was there, quiet and distant, and the next day she was gone. Her closet was empty. The drawers too. She had taken her things piece by piece, and he hadn't seen it coming. He tried calling her. Once. Twice. Many times. At first, she didn't answer. Then she blocked his number. He sent emails, long messages, apologies, promises. She never replied. One day, he created a fake profile and looked her up online. He searched her name on every platform he could think of. That's when he found her LinkedIn. She had updated it. It said she was now consulting for a new company, a competitor, a well-known one. And right under her name, in the small notes section, it said she had been personally referred by the CEO. His old CEO. He stared at the screen, reading the line over and over. He didn't know how to react. She hadn't just walked away. She had moved forward. She had stepped into a new chapter while he was stuck in the ruins of the one he destroyed. He closed the laptop and sat in silence. No job. No wife. No friends. He once stood tall, full of pride, thinking he was the one building a future. Now he finally saw the truth. He hadn't built anything. She had. And when she walked away, it all fell apart. His world was gone, and there was no one left to blame but himself. She embraced her freedom in small ways. There was no rush, no need to explain. Each day felt lighter. She could finally sit still without worrying about what someone else wanted or needed from her. The silence in her new place didn't feel heavy. It felt safe. It was a space that belonged to her and no one else. She took time to learn who she was without him. For a long time, she had made decisions based on what he liked, what he wanted, what made him look better. She had held back opinions. She had tried not to outshine him, even when she had something to say. Now, there was no one to please but herself. She started going on walks. She bought groceries she liked. She stopped asking herself if things were too much. She lit candles just because she enjoyed the smell. She no longer looked at her phone waiting for messages that never came. There was peace in that. One evening, she got a message from the CEO. It wasn't about work. He asked if she'd like to join him for dinner. Nothing formal. Just a meal. She said yes. They met at a quiet restaurant. The place wasn't busy. Soft music played in the background. They spoke easily. No tension. No pressure. He didn't talk over her. He asked questions and waited for her answers. He listened. She hadn't felt that kind of respect in years. They spoke about books, travel, and work, but not hers or her husband. Real conversations. Balanced. Thoughtful. It was the first time in a long time she felt seen. Not judged. Not used. Just understood. There was nothing romantic about it. Just kindness and mutual respect between two people who had gone through things quietly. Later, walking home, she thought about how much of herself she had hidden. She remembered times she stayed quiet to avoid making her husband feel small. She used to hold back good news or change how she dressed because he didn't like attention on her. She did it without thinking, just to keep things smooth. But not anymore. She was done shrinking. Done pretending to be less. Done apologizing for simply being herself. She reached out to old friends, people she hadn't spoken to in years. At first, she wasn't sure they'd answer. But they did. Some were surprised, but happy. They met for coffee or short walks. They asked how she was, and for the first time, she answered honestly. There was no need to hide now. They laughed together, shared memories, and made new plans. Being around them reminded her of who she had been before she lost herself, trying to support someone else's dreams. One morning, she booked a trip, just for her. No asking permission. No checking someone's schedule. A small coastal town. She stayed near the water, read books by the shore, and took slow walks through quiet streets. She didn't need company. She didn't feel lonely. She felt strong. She sat by the sea one evening, watching the sky change colors, and realized she didn't miss her old life. She didn't miss the house, the image, the role she had played. She had stepped out of something false and into something real. And now she was never going back. She got the message one quiet morning. It popped up on her phone while she was drinking tea by the window. It was from him, her ex-husband. "I'm sorry. I lost everything." She stared at the words for a few seconds. No greeting. No real explanation. Just a short sentence, like that would fix anything. For a moment, she felt nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just stillness. She didn't reply. She set the phone down, picked up her cup, and kept sipping. Outside, the sun was rising slowly, spreading light across the street. The world kept moving, even though his had clearly stopped. A few minutes later, another message arrived, but this one wasn't from him. It was from the CEO's office. She opened it calmly and began reading. It was a job offer, full-time, a high-level role at his company. The numbers were clear, 6 figures, full benefits, full trust. He wrote that her insight, honesty, and strength had impressed not just him, but others on the board. They wanted her on the team. She leaned back in her chair and let it sink in. Everything had changed. Not long ago, she had stood at a gala, feeling small, unwanted, invisible. Now, she was being seen for who she truly was. Not because of how she looked, not because of who she stood next to, but because of what she knew, what she had done, and who she had become. She stood up and walked to the mirror across the room. Her reflection looked the same face, same eyes, same posture. But something felt different. There was no weight on her shoulders, no fear in her chest, just quiet confidence, a steady kind of power. She smiled, not wide, not forced, just enough. The phone buzzed again. Another message from him. She didn't open it. She had nothing left to say. He had made fun of her, let others do the same, thought she would stay small forever. But she didn't yell. She didn't fight back in anger. She just told the truth, showed what needed to be seen, and let the rest take care of itself. She walked back to her desk, opened her laptop, and clicked accept offer. As the screen loaded, her thoughts returned to that one terrible night. The laughter behind her back, the pain in her chest, the way they thought she didn't matter. But she did. They laughed at me that night, she thought. But I whispered the truth and watched everything burn. Ever been in a situation where staying quiet said more than shouting ever could? I'd love to hear what you would have done if you were in my place. Share your thoughts down in the comments. And if these kinds of stories interest you, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell so you're the first to know when the next one drops.